Well, welcome everyone. It's Tuesday. We're back with you on Accelerate Your Consulting. It's so great to have you with us. Chris Ediger, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I've got an interesting week. We're in the midst of trying to get our daughter in to see some colleges, which is really difficult to do in COVID world and season. She's done a lot of virtual visits this summer, and we've actually going to be traveling around to a couple of state schools and over the last end of this week. So I'll be working on the road for a couple of days this week while we tour. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be nice to actually be on campus for a change.
Well, that's great. How many schools are you going to try and hit?
Just two. We're going to one on Thursday, one on Friday, and she's in the midst of applying. She's applying to about 6 different schools all over the U.S. For different reasons. So we're excited for her just to be able to see it. It's just, it's this generation of, I've got a student that graduated college this year, which was, lackluster. And we have friends whose kids graduated high school or just didn't get the senior year. So I'm very sympathetic because we've lived it and we've got friends that have lived it. And anytime you get a little glimpse of normalcy, we try to celebrate that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. My youngest son who's in college, he's been a ski lift operator in Taos, New Mexico for a couple seasons and has loved that and did online school, but now he's back to go to college, but he doesn't have to. And he said, Mom, I think maybe I'll go back to the mountain because all of my classes have ended up online again anyway, so I might as well. And so I say, hey, if you can do both at the same time, go for it. So
yeah, I love that. That's so awesome.
We'll see what he does, but it's fun. I know it's not what these kids are expecting. I know that it's disappointing.
But it's teaching resiliency, right? I mean, I think there's going to be a generation of students that are just, that are ready for things that maybe we weren't ready for because we didn't have to go through some of the stuff that they're having to adjust to, which is great.
I think you're right. And I would compliment at least the ones that I've been around that have taken it very well and have just kind of rolled with the punches. And I think that's great. So. Well, we want to talk about consulting today. So tell me what you've got up your sleeve. By the way, just so those of you who are new, I am Tracy Rader with Giant. I'm the director of implementation here. And Chris is actually our director of partners. He's the one that does all things training and business within our consulting business here and our what we call guides. So that's what we both do. So that's why we're here. But Chris, let us know what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I love this. I always look forward to these times on Tuesdays. Today, we're going to be talking about how do you raise your floor as a business. And really what I mean by that is how do you build a sustainable foundation, in particular for a consulting practice. Now, if you're on here and you're not a consultant or a coach, I think there's still some things that you'll probably learn today. But we're going to be kind of talking about it through the lens of those of you that are consultants and coaches trying to build a sustainable business. And as we look at this, these are the 3 things that we tend to work with and help empower our own consultants and guys. We work with hundreds of consultants all over the world. And these are the 3 areas that we kind of reiterate to them on a regular basis. To have an invincible business, have a sustainable business, especially as a consultant, you need to do 3 things. First of all, you've got to figure out how to minimize your expenses, right? It's as much about the money going out the door as it is the money coming in the door. And, cash flow is king. And so we talk about what that entails. We also talk about increasing your engagement with clients. When you're doing good work and work that matters in a deeper level of work that lasts longer, that's a key to sustainable business because you're not in and out with clients on a short-term basis. All of your clients are long-term clients, or at least that's what you're working toward. And then last, to be able to have predictable revenue. And this is probably the biggest key. And this is really what I want to talk about today, because if you're coming in and you're in this flux where it's good or bad, it's feast or famine, right? That's not something that you can sustain over time. You might be able to make it work for a season, but over the long haul, that's where it becomes really difficult to be able to sustain as a business. So to be able to set the stage for that, I actually want to give a glimpse into what Giant looked like. So when I became a part of Giant almost 14 years ago, Giant was an events business at the time. We were still in the leadership space, but primarily focused on doing in-person events. We did those under the brands of Catalyst and LeaderCast. And this is what our business looked like. right? Because we had major events in May and October of every single year. LeaderCast was in May, Catalyst was in October, and we did some other events throughout the year, but the big cash flow, the big revenue opportunities for us were in May and October of every year. And what that meant, very realistically, is that when events went well, we had a good year. When events didn't quite go so well, we didn't have quite so good of a year. The strength of our business was completely tied to the success of those major events. It wasn't even all the events we were doing, just those big ones. So one of the things that we did is to try to figure out, well, how do we raise the floor, right? It's kind of that phrase of saying, how do I cushion this so that the success or failure of an event doesn't necessarily lead to the extreme success or failure of the organization or the business. Now, the way that we did that is something that will feel very familiar to you if you're watching this on Giant, on the platform right now, or if you have experience with our platform, because it really was the first iteration of something that is now the fourth or fifth iteration that you get to benefit from on the daily basis. And that's content. Because our business at the time was focused on place and time events where we had a stage, we brought speakers in, we had a lot of content. We had a lot of great things being shared from the stage, so to speak. And so one of the ways that we were able to build a ancillary business to the events was to take the captured content and figure out how to repurpose it and make it available 24/7 throughout the year. And so what we did is we created content platforms. Early ideas of what you are experiencing today, right? And what that did is it started to develop some reoccurring, ongoing, sustainable revenue that wasn't susceptible necessarily to the time of year. And so while the events business continued to fluctuate between May and October for the events, or if that wasn't the season, there was something that was much more steady in our business. We essentially raised the floor, as you can see, by bringing in predictable revenue on an ongoing basis. And it cushioned the blow and flattened the curves so that the kind of the events business, which was much more volatile, didn't affect our business quite as much. Now, you would think, having lived through those seasons, and this was literally year in and year out, this was probably one of the biggest puzzles that we had to solve for as an organization to have a successful business. You would think I would have learned, but no. We've talked about 6 years ago, I became a consultant, and I was forced to be a consultant. I was laid off, and so I started my consulting journey, like many of you, out of a season of need. And guess what? I could map my business to look almost exactly like what the events business looked like. And that was because I was doing lots of projects. And what I mean by projects is it was very short-term work. I was coming in, doing one thing or a small series of things or for a short season of time with an organization. I didn't have any long-term clients at all. And what that meant is that when I had a lot of projects, life was good. And when I didn't have a lot of projects, life was difficult. And this kind of volatility to my business, probably for the first year or two, made it very, very difficult to sustain myself as a consulting business. Now, how did I solve for that? How did I start to be more successful? Well, I did the exact same thing. I started to try to increase predictability in the revenue of what I was doing. And I did that many different ways. We're not getting all the specifics because it doesn't necessarily have to do with what we're talking about today. But I built a technology platform that a lot of organizations and leaders were using that was providing subscription revenue every month. I was started doing more contract work. I started doing more retainer-based work that just became more predictable, where I could say, oh, I don't have to worry about what revenue is going to look like 2 months from now. I know what it's going to kind of look like because the business of what I'm working on today is what it's going to look like 2 months from now. Now, ideally, as you're working in a consulting business, it even looks better than this. This is where we're trying to get our consultants, is we're trying to raise the level of predictable revenue so that it essentially flattens the curves of what it can be a very volatile nature of a business when you're doing short-term consulting work. And we do that through many different areas. So I'm going to show you a couple of those today. But when we talk about the raising the floor of your business, this is what I'm talking about. What are some things that you can do as a consultant to be able to generate more predictable revenue and cash flow in a way that your business becomes less volatile, it becomes more predictable, which is the only way you can really build a growing, sustainable business. So how do you do that? Well, you do it through all of these, really, right? I mean, anytime you can minimize expenses, you're increasing the revenue, the predictability of the revenue on a monthly basis. Anytime you can go deeper with a client and have more impactful engagement, it leads to longer business. And to move from projects to retainers, to be able to help consultants actually have predictable cash flow and revenue on a monthly basis. Now, I'm going to talk about how we do this, because if you're not on Jai, if you're not one of our coaches and consultants that we work with, I would love for you to be, because I'm about to show you a solution for how we do this on an ongoing basis. And it's through our Accelerate product. So we talk about this every week. We have a product that's geared toward helping consultants build their businesses. And we do that through impactful content, tools, and technology that you can leverage to be able to grow your business and impact people's lives. Now, a part of Accelerate is that you get access to some of our technology to be able to use it with your clients. One of those is called Invincible. And again, we've talked about this before, but Invincible is our product for teams. Provides access to not only leadership content and tools and videos and all of those, it actually gives you access to ongoing assessments that you can use to be able to show where teams are hurting, where they're growing. It helps you to have some exercise and things that you can actually do, a predictable process operating system that you can put into place with a team that is geared to be an ongoing relationship with them. Now, when we do that, again, this is just one of our products, but it'll prove a point of what I'm trying to say today. When you are a guide for Giant, when you are, on the Accelerate platform as a subscriber, that's not just your training and equipping, it's actually your license to be able to use it. And guess what? You're going to be using our technology with the people you work with. That's part of the system that you're putting in place. This is the pricing for those people you're working with. So if you're working with a company that's 20 people, 11 to 20 people, the technology, not the cost for your services, but just for the technology platform is $299 a month, which is really cheap, right? That's, nearing $10 a month per person to have access to a rich technology stack that you can use. Now, you actually earn commissions. So for all of our guides and consultants that are working with us, by just doing their job on a day in, day out basis, working with the companies, using the technology they were already going to use anyway, they're actually earning revenue. And that's 20%. So if you look at all these levels, these are approximate, but let's say you've got a company of 25 people. Well, for a company of 25 people, not only are they paying for you and your services, but you're also earning $140 a month in reoccurring revenue that honestly is probably going to last well beyond the time that you're working with them, because you're building a system in place. So let's say after a year or two, if they don't need you anymore for whatever reason, they're probably going to stick around on the platform using the technology. You're going to continue to get that revenue. Now, where this becomes really, really impactful is at this mark. So if you look at right in the middle, by the time you get to around $1,000 to $1,300 a month in what people are already just paying to use the technology, you're actually earning enough to pay for Accelerate. So Accelerate costs $199 today. It's getting ready to go up. So this is the time to get in. But for right now, it's $199 a month. Well, guess what? You only have to work with up to, you get one company of the size of 50 plus people, and they're actually paying for your training and certification and technology. So then it becomes an all upside to where you're not actually having to pay anything. It's all reoccurring revenue that goes. Now, here's where it becomes really fun. So I actually took some time recently and I asked our guides and consultants, hey, that money over here that you're earning on a monthly basis, just by doing your job, just by out there and using the system with clients that you would be doing anyway, the reoccurring revenue that you're earning, that raising the floor, what are you using that for? Or what do you hope to use that for? What are your plans for that reoccurring revenue from you just doing business? This over here. And here's some of the things that they said. I would say the very first one up here that I don't even have on the list is what I just told you. A lot of them are saying, I just want to pay for my fee. My $199 a month, I just want that covered so that I get to do this for free, essentially. I get to use Giant for free. Others had said, I'm actually covering my monthly office rent through just the reoccurring revenues. Other people say, I have a goal to cover all of my monthly business expenses so that I can do business for free because my ongoing recurring revenue that I've earned through just using Giant is actually paying for that. I've got one of our consultants that said, I'm actually putting that money into a travel fund. I'm planning on next year taking my family on a 2-week trip to China. How amazing. Like Giant is paying for a family vacation, a 2-week family vacation to China. I mean, how much better is that? We have some people that said, for me, I want to have more predictable revenue that's coming in, more of that passive income that you do the work on the front end, but it continues to pay you over time because I want to be able to take more time off. I don't want to work as hard as I'm working right now. I want to be able to take a day off a week or travel more, right? I've got one consultant who has committed. Now, this is a bigger goal, but he said, my goal is that by the end of 2021, my reoccurring revenue I'm earning through Accelerate is covering all of our living expenses. In other words, I have checks coming every single month that are covering that. Now, again, just to differentiate, we're not talking pyramid scheme. It's not like you get one person and then they get 2 people and then 3. It doesn't work that way. It's just the people that you're already doing business with that the technology that you're using, you're actually benefiting from financially. And most of our clients find that it's a sustainable system that they continue to use for months and years, even beyond your engagement with them. So it becomes an additional source of revenue for what you're doing. So again, as we talk through what does it look like to raise your floor as a business, how do you come in here and get to a point where at the very least you're raising the level of predictable revenue, making your business a little less volatile, hopefully getting to a place where it's much more flat in what you're doing because of things like the commission payments as well as what you're earning through ongoing retainers. That's how you build a sustainable business. And I can just tell you, the consultants I work with, and we work with hundreds of consultants, I could share stories of consultants who are doing that well, and they are thriving. They are just having the time of their life doing work that they love, earning income that they need, and doing it in a way that's very fulfilling. And then I know other consultants that they're still project minded. They're not really working on raising the floor, and they struggle. It depends on when I talk to them. Sometimes they're doing well, and other times, more often than not, they're having a difficult time because they haven't figured out how to do that, to be able to raise the floor. So that's something I think is really, really important whenever you're building especially a consulting practice. Tracy, do we have any questions? We would love if you have any questions, whether you're on Giant, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook. Please let us know that you're here. Feel free to ask any questions. I would love to talk just for a little bit, be able to help you any way that we can.
Sorry, Chris. I'm over here with my calculator while you're talking because this is exciting to me. I'm thinking, okay, so I was using that $140. You said you could get the 20%, like if you had was it the client that was around 25 people?
Yeah, 21 to 50.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you take that times 12, right? That's $1,680 a year. If you get 6 of those clients, that's around $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna work with them for however long you are, a year or 2, maybe 3 years, but eventually you're gonna give them to a healthy point and you're gonna be able to move on, and they're going to stay on the platform because it is so valuable. And that $10,080 a year, you can just start collecting those on top of one another, right? That's the way I'm seeing it. So it's a great sustainable plan.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, there's definitely consultants that are earning $10,000 a month just from commissions from the system. That's not even covering what they're earning from actually charging their clients for the work they're doing. That's just their clients are paying for the technology fee to use the system and the technology that they're leveraging. That actually makes their job much more impactful and easier. and they're earning $10,000 a month. Now, that's not everybody. That's not even the large majority. But the number of people that are earning enough to cover their cost, I mean, that's huge, because they're looking at it going, I can make a small investment right now, quickly earn revenue, and eventually get to a point in the not too distant future where the amount of money that I have to pay to actually use this stuff that's really impactful and makes my job easier is, it's for free. I don't have to cover it anymore. And that's always kind of the baseline that we're encouraging, our consultants. Hey, at the very least, try to get to this level to begin with, and then grow from there.
Here's a question. What's a realistic amount of time that I should be able to land my first client?
That's good. I like that. So here's what we're actively working. This is what I love. This is perfect timing. We actually are working with our consultants right now in a system called 40 and 40. 40, the letter N, and then 40. And it's a challenge that we're doing for the next 40 days to be able to help them leverage the technology and the things that they're trained on to earn $40,000 in new annual revenue. So we're saying, we think in 40 days, you can land $40,000 annual client that's new by just using the system. And the system's very straightforward. We've talked about it in bits and pieces. We probably need to do a session here in the coming weeks that kind of goes into each of the pieces a little bit better. But helping people get on the platform, serving them first, before you even sell, like serving them, helping them, showing the impact of what you do and what Giant does, and then having the conversation to say, here's how we can do something on an ongoing basis. And it's set up not as a one-off, but actually an ongoing system that you put into place to be able to help them identify their greatest needs, work on them on a consistent basis, and actually bring about real change when it comes to health and the productivity of your team. And we were 2 weeks into this, 4 to 5 week process. And we've already seen consultants that are celebrating landing some new retainers. I'm not sure exactly what the amounts are yet, but I would say 40 days. Like, if you come in and you do the work, I mean, I think there's no reason to think that you couldn't start raising some, a decent amount of revenue without it being like you don't have to spend 6 months to a year to be able to do that. We've said that before, by the way. That's what I think I like about who we are and what we do, is because a lot of other consultancies and a lot of things you get certified in, like Myers-Briggs is the example I give because I'm Myers-Briggs certified, right? I spent $2,500 up front, and I got trained on the content, and I got given very limited resources, and I never hear from them since then, right? And I have to pay a certain amount every month or every year to keep that license up so that I have permission to continue to use that. Now, I love Myers-Briggs. I do use it with my own clients, but that's traditional. That's traditional certification program, a lot of money up front, which it'll take you a while to learn to actually earn, to recoup that money. And then there's no ongoing relationship. We are the exact opposite of that. We are so family, community, collaborative environment. That is the number one thing that our consultants say is, I knew the content was good because I had a little bit of exposure to it in different settings. I had no idea the connection and the community and the support that I was going to receive. That is a huge differentiator between what we do and compared to other consultancies and certifications. And then from a pricing, we've talked about this before, it's $199 a month, right? So when you come in here, and again, I would encourage you, go to giantworldwide.com/accelerate. If you're a consultant or a coach that wants to learn more about how leveraging Giant can help you build your business, just go to giantworldwide.com/accelerate and click on that schedule info call button. That'll put you in touch with our team. It is a no pressure call. We literally are there to be able to help answer questions and see if we're the right fit and just help get you moving in the right direction, even if it's not Giant. When they do that, this is the place that it's a very small investment. It's not a big money, right? It's $199 a month, and we actually give you permission to use content as you learn it. So you don't have to wait until you're done with the entire certification process. If you learn one component of it, you're welcome to go out there and start charging for and using that one component to be able to earn revenue. Because we want what you want. We want this to make a difference, to actually build your business and grow your revenue in a way that is fulfilling in the work that you do. And we try to set up our systems and prices to make that very palatable to be able to get to those places. And then as you're doing it, you're getting people onto the platform already and you're earning revenue so that it becomes a zero factor where you're not having to pay for anything and you're just earning based on the connections and the content and the tools that we develop, which is great.
Yeah, it's really like nothing else I've ever seen. We had yesterday a gentleman stop in. He signed up for the Accelerate program a while back. He stopped in our office yesterday just to say, I just wanted to come meet you guys. Like I've never seen anything like this as far as the community and the support. He was just overwhelmed and just really wanted to say thanks and to meet everyone that was in the office that day. So that was kind of neat and it's kind of a personal testimony. So I do think it's unique. I've never seen anything like it. So.
Yeah. And so for me as a creative connector pioneer, like this is the lifeblood this is why I am associated with Giant, and I have been for 13 years, and God willing, I always will be, because the work is impactful, and I get to see consultants and coaches come alive because they're doing work that matters in a way that's powerful, using technology and tools that they don't have to come up with themselves in a way that builds a sustainable, healthy revenue for them and their families. It's just, it's a great thing to be a part of. And I jealously want you to click that button because that means I get to see you more, right? Because I'm on calls with guides and consultants all the time. That is my day job, is I serve that community. And so I would love to see new faces on there who are maybe exposed to Giant a little bit, but haven't really explored what it would look like to become part of the family, so to speak, or to get equipped with what we are doing. So encourage you, go to giantworldwide.com/accelerate to be a part of that. And as we look ahead, just as a reminder.
Real quick though, Chris, can I
yes.
put in one more? We had a last minute question come in. Do you mind?
No, go for it. That's awesome.
That's a good one, because I think maybe other people might be wondering, but Anthony's asking, aside from that 40 and 40, does Accelerate provide other sales training?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do several things. Our system is not just content, it's content and apparatus, if you will. It's content and system. So you're going to be learning tools like 5 Voices, 5 Gears, a lot of the support challenge, a lot of the tools that we use with leaders and organizations all over the world. You're becoming an expert at those. But we also give you structure around how. It's not just the what, it's actually the how. And so we've got a system called the Invincible operating system that will train you on how to get out there and get exposure to what you're doing, so that in a way that serves people. It's not salesy, it's serving people, and it actually builds a book of business for you. We talk about how to have those conversations, how to position what you're doing and serve people for a longer relationship. So yes. And then we also have stuff called Business in a Box that's all about actual sales training. So if you're one of those people, I'll never forget this. David Bonney, who's a sales consultant that we work with, he was at one of our events last year, and he had everybody he said, hey, I want you to raise your hand if you love leadership. And of course, in our company, like everybody raises their hands, right? Because that's why we're doing what we're doing. And then he said, I want you to raise your hands if you love selling. And there was like two people in the entire room, out of a large room, right? Because so many of us, and I'm one of those that goes, oh, I stink at sales. I'm so bad at selling. I hate selling. It feels icky, And so we actually have a sales methodology that we walk through and train our consultants on that helps you see sales for what it really is. And David's point was, sales is leadership. You can't say that you love leadership and hate sales, because what sales really truly is, it's helping you to be able to help other people understand where their pain is, and you meeting the needs, those pain points where you can. And it shouldn't be you trying to stuff in whatever it is that you're trying to sell. It's not about that. It's about knowing the people, the prospective clients that you're working with, knowing how to have the conversation to help them see those things, and then connecting the dots where Giant, in our case, fits, or where we aren't the right fit, and we can actually help solve for it. And that's why those sales conversations are great, because we preface them by saying, I'll tell you what, this is how those calls are going to go. This is how we're going to talk today. And at the end of the day, my goal is to get you solution. Whether that's Giant or not, I'm going to help point you in the right direction. So this is going to be a valuable conversation today. So we absolutely have training on how to have those conversations, which is really helpful as well.
That's great. All right. Well, Chris, once again, you're just a wealth of information. So thank you, and let us know what's coming up here.
Yeah. So we do this every Tuesday from 2 to 3. If you're on social media, so if you're watching this on our LinkedIn or our Facebook pages, I would highly encourage you to go to this URL, giant.tv/free account. We have a product called Ascend. It's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leadership videos and learning pathways, guided pathways, and ebooks and resources and live streams like this one, as well as you can actually watch these on demand if you miss them live. All of that is available completely for free. And all you have to do is go to giant.tv/free account. I encourage you to do that, and then join us next Tuesday, October 13th at 2 p.m. We're going to be talking about how to maximize team performance. This is a core tool for what we do with organizations all over the world. It goes through and describes 5 key areas that we've found in research backs up that highly productive, healthy teams excel in. And we're going to talk about what those 5 are. We're going to talk about some ways that you can help people to be able to grow in each one of those areas. So come back next Tuesday at 2 p.m. as we talk through that.
Yes, come back. We'd love to have you. Well, thanks, Chris. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks to all of you who joined us on LinkedIn and Facebook, and then, of course, the Giant platform. We hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.